coming on the air tonight with that massive winter storm the National Weather Service calls a once-in-a-generation event. More than a third of the country bracing for snow, high winds, and rapid drops in temperatures. 100 million at risk, and holiday travel plans thrown into chaos. Where the storm is hitting and headed. Plus, what you need to know about holidays in this triple-demic, how to travel safely to the search for kids' pain relief medication. Then, disgraced FTX co-founder Sam Bankman-Fried out of prison on a $250 million bond. What we're learning tonight about where he can and can't go. Plus, TikTok is apologizing for spying on users as they push to strike a deal with the U.S. government over security concerns, the steps they're taking. And down to the wire, the House now set to vote tomorrow on that $1.7 trillion government funding bill. Tucked into that bill, proposed changes to your 401k. How your plan could be impacted later in the show. Hey, everybody, I'm Lindsay in for Hallie. And tonight, we're coming on the air with this dangerous holiday storm in full gear. We're talking snow, high winds, plunging temperatures, flooding, and more. Take a look right now. This is a live look at Bismarck, North Dakota. Whiteout conditions you see there. Still some people on the road. We want to show you Kansas City, Missouri as well. And right now, 105 million people are under a winter weather alert because of this storm. That's about a third of the country. The National Weather Service is saying the storm could have potentially crippling impacts across the central and eastern U.S. I want to show you all the snow in North Dakota. Pretty much deserted except for that one truck which looks stuck, and blowing snow you see there as well. I want to show you some video out of Kansas showing a morning commute. Hard to even see the road ahead. One of the biggest concerns for officials, those widespread power outages that could last through Christmas for thousands, which could make things really life-threatening in areas across the Rockies and the northern plains. There will be Arctic-level cold air and freezing wind chills. President Biden earlier today warning Americans to take this seriously.
It's not like a snow day, you know, when you're a kid. This is serious stuff.
The timing of all this couldn't be worse. You've got the storm hitting on one of the biggest travel days of the holiday season. As we come on the air, we're seeing airlines have canceled more than 2,000 flights in and out of the U.S., delays in the thousands. For some people, the window to change their plans is closing.
It was really chaos. It was back and forth. And one minute, there's a flight at 8:30 or 6:45, and then a minute it's gone.
I have a partner going out west to Colorado, so I'm nervous about that one.
I'm happy I get to get out before, so I don't get stuck here in the blizzard.
We've got our team on the ground checking out how travel in the skies and on the roads are shaping up. Shaq Brewster driving through Benton Harbor, Michigan. Katie Beck is at Reagan National Airport in Arlington, Virginia. And we've got Bill Cairns here for the forecast. So, Shaq, let's start with you. Some people, they're planning to drive instead of fly. You've been driving all day. What are the conditions like?
Yeah. Well, Lindsay, we started the day just west of Chicago in the suburbs as we got those first few flurries, and then we went south of Chicago. Now we're in Michigan as we make our way along the road here. And I want you to look at the conditions we're dealing with, where it's no longer flurries that we're seeing. You see the snow covering the ground. The visibility has gone down dramatically. We're under a blizzard warning right now, and you see most of the cars on the road, for the most part, taking it slow, taking it easy as they go through these tough conditions. Now, what you're hearing from officials all across this region is concern not just with the snowfall. Yes, there is going to be significant snow in some areas. We know in the Chicago area, they were expecting about an inch of snow an hour through the afternoon. So yes, that is a concern, but it's really the wind that is only going to increase in the hours to come. That is what drops that visibility and creates those whiteout conditions that we've been looking at for much of the day in other parts of the country. And then those plunging temperatures. That's what leads to black ice, and that's what makes the roads so treacherous. And that's the word that you're hearing from the National Weather Service, that travel at this time could be treacherous. So right now, the guidance that you're hearing from officials is that the time for preparing is quickly come to an end, and now it's the time to hunker down and to stay off the roads, or if you must travel, to keep it slow and take it easy while you're driving.
And, Shaq, we can see the snow levels out of the window there a little bit, and that sliver. Obviously, the truck is blocking it now. But how are people you've been talking to preparing for this? I mean, there's snow that region is used to, and then there's this.
Exactly, and this is an area that is used to snow, but in terms of the blizzard warning that we're seeing, this is the first blizzard warning that they've seen in over 5 years here in the Benton Harbor area. So this is more than what they are used to dealing with, and what you're seeing from different states in the region. For example, Indiana, they activated their National Guard. They have pre-positioned folks along the highways so that when drivers get stranded, if they're on the roads, that there's some assistance for those drivers. As we were going through the Chicago area, we saw plows in the morning pre-positioned on those exit ramps and those exit ramps, and then they started to very quickly be on the road. And we'll switch to the front camera right now, and you can actually see there's some emergency vehicles off to the side here. It doesn't look like there was any crash just yet. Actually, I see there was one car that actually completely slid off the road and is in the embankment on the right side there. So that is the concern. Officials are saying, take it slow, take it easy, because even if you do that, when you're dealing with black ice, when you're dealing with that low visibility, it's still a dangerous condition on the roads, and that danger is only expected to increase as we get into the evening and overnight hours, Lindsay.
All right, Shaq, you and your crew stay safe. Thank you so much. Let's go now to Katie Beck at Reagan International Airport. So, Katie, we mentioned a third of Americans are under a winter alert. You've also got a third of Americans on the move ahead of Christmas. What's the travel situation like across the country?
Well, it's certainly getting worse here at Reagan. We saw this morning that most flights were on time. There were very few cancellations and delays, and that departure board has changed pretty drastically over the day, as has the temperature. You can definitely sense that it's getting colder, the wind's picking up, and that departure board has a lot more red writing on it than it did at 7 this morning. Still overall here, the day at Reagan has been pretty normal. Flights have had a pretty normal pattern, but like Shaq said, the weather is getting worse, and this is a hub to so many places. So if you are traveling from D.C. to anywhere in the Midwest, to Denver, to Chicago, to Detroit, those airports are going to be backlogged and jammed by tomorrow morning if planes are not able to get in and out. We know that Chicago preemptively canceled 500 flights today, and that the airlines were actually waiving change fees so that passengers would perhaps move their flights up earlier and getting ahead of this weather and trying to reduce the number of people that are going to be stranded or canceled, trying to reschedule on Christmas Eve. So, Lindsay, things here are still in the mild category in terms of disruption, but will that last through the night and into tomorrow? Likely not.
Oh, all right, Katie, thanks so much. All right, let's go ahead and go to the man who's been tracking this all, Bill Karen. So we've been talking about the disruptions here. What's going on with this bomb cyclone?
It's beginning to form. So up to this point, we've really only been dealing with the cold outbreak, and that's made its way all the way down to Texas. I'll tell you that in a second. But we just added D.C. and Philadelphia into these wind chill advisories. This is a map you just hardly ever see. 177 million people are included in this. This is over half of the population of the U.S. is either in a wind chill advisory or a wind chill warning at this point. So that's a pretty extremely rare. Even North Florida is under a wind chill advisory. So here's the current wind chills. And I was mentioning that we're getting into it now in southern portions of Texas. San Antonio was 60 degrees earlier today. Now your wind chill is 22. In Houston, the bottom's about to drop out. You were at 60 earlier. The cold air is now filtering in. Dallas is at -3. We're about -40 in Sioux City. Chicago earlier today was in the 30s. You're now at -9. So the cold air rushed south. And now behind our bomb cyclone that will develop tonight, the cold air is going to rush towards the East Coast. That's what everyone on the eastern seaboard has to look forward to during the day tomorrow. All the snow is mostly over Chicago down to areas of Illinois. It's been light. It's only been 1 to 2, maybe 3 inches. The snow is not the significant portion of this storm. It's going to be the plunge in the temperatures and then the strong winds as this storm really intensifies as it heads towards Detroit later on tonight and during the day tomorrow. It's going to get so strong that the winds are going to be, equivalent to like a strong tropical storm in some areas. That's 50 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts, possibly off of Lake Erie here on Buffalo, 72 mile per hour winds. That's enough for even structural damage, let alone tree limbs and trees falling down in the area. And in addition to that, you're going to have power outages with wind chills in the -20 to 30 range. So you're talking about a lot of people, possibly thousands, with no power over the Christmas weekend with wind chills that are dangerous, even to stay in your home if you don't have a way to heat your house. So power outage potential highest along Lake Erie, off of Lake Ontario near Watertown, all of northern New England, and then some coastal locations here near Cape Cod, too, could have very strong wind gusts tomorrow morning in the chance of power outages. The snowfall map, nothing impressive, but if you just get that coating out there and you have to drive in it, and we get a flash freeze, which we're going to get later tonight in the Ohio Valley, tomorrow near Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania. That's the possibility to get those spin outs and driving on the black ice. And tomorrow morning, on top of everything, with these strong winds, we have coastal flood warnings from down East Maine, Boston to Cape Cod, Providence, coastline of Connecticut, all of Long Island, and down towards Atlantic City. We could have roads closed. We could have flooding on certain highways. I know the FDR Drive in New York City is expected to be closed at the peak of the morning high tide around 7 a.m. And then the rainfall on top of it, inland areas could have rainfall flooding, Lindsay. So, I mean, this is exhausting. I mean, very rarely do we have a storm that has this much of a significant impact in this large of a portion of the country.
Yeah, and another reason why it's so unusual is we have President Biden, who actually got a weather briefing. I mean, usually that happens with natural disasters like hurricanes and stuff. He urged people to listen to their local officials. What do those people say on how to stay safe?
I think the reason they did that was because they're concerned about people getting trapped. And I think one of the biggest issues and the concerns is going to be near the Great Lakes, where Shaq was just driving, near the Benton Harbor area, also towards Buffalo. Because when we start to get to the point where we got winds that are that strong, you know, even if we only get 6 to 12 inches, one area, the ground will be bare. It's going to be light and powdery. Another area will have 5 feet of snow. And if we get cars stranded off the road, especially in any rural areas, and you get wind chills like this, and people may not be able to get rescued. And we're talking life-threatening conditions out there. And not to mention, Lindsay, you know, I haven't brought it up during the day today, but people have to worry about their pets in this weather, too. People that are used to leaving their pets outside, you can't do that in this weather.
Yeah, great to mention. And when do we expect the worst to be over? Are there any better-looking pictures for the actual holiday?
There is. So today is when it's, you know, getting bad. Tomorrow is when it gets really bad. By the time we start to get to, I was going to say Saturday, Christmas Eve. So here's the map for Friday. Travel impacts, obviously, the Northeast is a mess. Just cold everywhere else. By the time we get to Christmas Eve, if you're away from the Great Lakes, it's not bad. It's cold, but it's starting to recover a little bit in areas of Texas. At least you have sunny skies. You're not going to be driving in snow or anything. And by the time we get to Christmas Day, besides Cleveland to Buffalo, everyone else is actually looking pretty nice for all their travel. It's really today and all day tomorrow is the most significant impacts.
Festively frigid.
Yes.
Very good. Bill Cairns, thank you so much. Sam Bankman-Fried released today on a $250 million bond after a court appearance in New York. He's accused of misappropriating billions of dollars deposited in his crypto exchange FTX. Here he is leaving court today. SBF, as he's known, says he never intended to defraud anyone. Some terms of his bail: he's under home detention and monitoring at his parents' house in Palo Alto, California. Bankman-Fried can leave home only with approval for exercise. He also has to surrender his passport and any weapons he owns. And while Bankman-Fried was being brought back to the States, U.S. Attorney Damian Williams announced charges against 2 of SBF's closest business associates, Caroline Ellison and Gary Wong, charges which they secretly pleaded guilty to. Ron Allen joins me now from outside the courthouse in Manhattan. So, Ron, talk to us here about the terms of SBF's bail and also what happened in court today.
Well, the court hearing was very brief, about an hour, and as you said, bond was set at $250 million. His parents essentially co-signed the agreement based on the equity and value of their home out in Palo Alto, where Bankman-Fried will be under house arrest and also wearing an electronic monitoring device and confined to Northern California, where we believe that he is headed now. He left here a couple of hours ago. What the judge called very tight restrictions, and the judge also agreed that he didn't see Bankman-Fried now as being a flight risk because, as the judge put it, anywhere he goes, he'd be recognized. And the attorneys agreed that his resources, his finances, were greatly diminished. After all, again, his parents had to co-sign for this, like you're co-signing for a college loan. Of course, the amounts of money in all this are staggeringly higher than a college loan, but that's essentially what happened.
I want to turn also to the news we got, Ron, about Bankman-Fried's associates overnight. What do we know about them and their roles in all this?
Well, they're very high-ranking people in a very small company. And Caroline Ellison, was even described in some accounts as an ex-girlfriend of Bankman-Fried's. So they pleaded guilty to fraud, conspiracy, a number of charges, and they faced up to 50 to 100 years in prison based on the charges that they were facing. So that gives you some idea of why what may have helped them decide that they wanted to cooperate, plead guilty, and get past this. And the U.S. attorney throughout this entire process has been very very adamant in saying that there could be more to come. He said to any employees who worked for any of these companies that if you've done anything wrong, you should get ahead of it and essentially turn yourself in. So it would not be surprising to see more arrests, more charges as this case continues to unfold.
Ron, thank you so much. Congressman Jamie Raskin on the January 6th committee telling NBC News tonight that he's still confident the committee's final report will be made public today after they pushed the report's release back one day. Raskin saying the delay is because of a skeleton staff ahead of the holidays. But the committee is releasing the full interview transcripts from former White House aide and key witness Cassidy Hutchinson, revealing how she was instructed by her attorney to mislead the committee. That attorney, Stephen Passantino, defending himself tonight, writing in his statement in part, "I represented Ms. Hutchinson honorably, ethically, and fully consistent with her sole interests as she communicated them to me." Joining me now is Julie Sirkin. So, Julie, talk to me first about where the committee is at in trying to get this report out.
I mean, you heard it from Jamie Raskin, right? He said they're still trying to get this report out today. He again blamed some of those printing and filing issues we've been hearing about since yesterday. And it's not unusual to imagine that a report of this size, 1,000+ pages expected to drop, would take some time to print and get out there, especially with the skeleton staff that Raskin alluded to. Of course, the holidays just around the corner. People in this building were planning on being out a long time ago. So that's totally plausible. But in the meantime, the committee is keeping us busy by releasing these dribs and drabs of the transcripts that they have. Remember, they conducted interviews with more than 1,000 witnesses. So not only is this report extensive, but these transcripts coming out in addition to the report are also extensive as well. And we'll talk about this a little bit more.
I want to talk to Julie about this transcript because in it, it's really giving us a better look at what the committee referred to during the hearings as potential witness tampering and also the awareness in the White House that Trump lost the election. Walk us through the significance here.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I mean, one transcript that was released today that immediately caught my eye is that of Cassidy Hutchinson. Of course, she was their star witness in that bombshell explosive testimony she gave in July to Congress. Really the closest person in the Trump White House at that point to admit publicly that not only that she believes former President Trump made some efforts to incite the mob with his speech, with his plans behind the scenes, planning not only on the 6th but on the 5th as well. Remember, she was really close not only to former President Trump, but to his chief of staff, Mark Meadows, and she was privy to all of those conversations. And in these transcripts, I mean, you could really see how they felt, Trump orbit felt that she was the weakest link, perhaps the easiest to break. I want to read you a piece of her transcript, the first part in which she's telling the committee that it took her some time not only to find a lawyer, but to retain one pro bono, because at the time she didn't have a job. She couldn't find a job after being unemployed after former President Trump lost the election. And a piece of what she said was talking about her conversations about Stephen Passantino, who of course was the White House ethics lawyer, and she's saying, Stephen said something to the effect of, quote, "The committee doesn't know what you can and can't recall, so we want to be able to use that as much as we can unless you really, really remember something very clearly." He's telling her to essentially say, "I don't recall each time." And she's continued, and that's when you give a short, sweet response. You don't want to get ahead of their questions. She went on in this transcript to tell the committee that she was concerned she would be perjuring herself, essentially, by not answering these questions. She also actually apologized to the committee for maybe not being as forthcoming in the beginning as she was later on when she was able to get another lawyer. And she was concerned that whoever was paying these legal funds for Stephen Passantino, that they were connected to the Trump orbit, even saying that she told her mom she was worried she would forever be indebted to the Trump world because they'd be paying these fees. And I also want to talk about another piece of this, which is about that call with Raffensperger, the call that former President Trump had with the Georgia Secretary of State, January of 2021. Hutchinson here recalling a moment to the committee as well, saying, quote, "After that Raffensperger call where Mark said something," Mark meaning Mark Meadows, something to the effect of, quote, "He knows it's over." The he I am referring to when I say this quote is the president, President Trump. He knows it's over. He knows he lost, but we're going to keep trying. There's a chance he didn't. I want to pull this off for him. This eyebrow raising, but also less surprising that even these details she divulges about the lawyer back and forth, because we've also heard this from different people in the White House in their private conversations with the committee.
Julie Sirkin, fascinating. Thank you. House Democratic leaders tonight are saying they now expect to vote on that $1.7 trillion funding bill tomorrow. And there's some urgency here because the deadline is midnight tomorrow, while representatives from the states getting hit by that winter storm are losing their chance to get home for the holidays. The Senate passed the bill 68-29 this morning. So what are some of the things that are included? Military spending, aid for Ukraine, disaster relief, an overhaul in election laws, and banning TikTok on government-owned devices. Joining me now is Sahil Kapoor. So, Sahil, walk us through why the House is not voting on this until tomorrow.
Well, quite simply, Lindsay, the House Majority Leader Steny Hoyer says the chamber is not going to formally receive the bill. Remember, it's more than 4,000 pages until late tonight, and they're not going to be able to formally begin the process as one would of moving it to the floor of the House. The process is fairly simple. Once they get it, they can do it quickly. It needs to go through the Rules Committee. That generally takes a few hours. Then they can set up a process on the floor of the House that would also take a few hours before they finally end up voting on it. Hoyer said that process is expected to happen after 9 a.m. when the House, reconvenes tomorrow morning. It's not exactly clear when the vote will be, but it'll be around or after 9 a.m.
A notable piece of this bill, Sahil, is that aid for Ukraine, $45 billion, which is what President Zelensky was asking Congress for just yesterday.
That's right. It's no coincidence that Zelensky was asking Congress for this assistance to his country, to Ukraine, to help fend off Russian aggression and to try to win this war. He said to Congress, your support is crucial. In other words, Ukraine cannot defend itself without assistance from the United States. And this package includes, in total, $45 billion in aid to Ukraine. A big portion of that is weapons. There's security money in there. There's also humanitarian and economic assistance, all sorts of things that Ukraine says it needs to, to keep defending itself and to survive, essentially, against Putin's war.
All right, so Sahil, if the House is able to pass this tomorrow, how quickly will they get it to the president's desk?
They're going to try to get this to Biden as soon as possible. The president's going to want to sign it quickly as well, because the sooner he signs it, the sooner this money can get out the door. They know there's urgency with Ukraine. There's a whole host of priorities for both political parties that are included in this bill. For Democrats, a boost in domestic discretionary spending, although not as much as they would have wanted, but those programs can begin to, take shape after the bill is signed into law. This is going to be the last major piece of the Democratic trifecta. They passed a lot of bills, some of them on a party line basis, spent trillions of dollars on Democratic priorities, many of them on a bipartisan basis. This ends that era, Lindsay, and begins a new era, at least once the House passes it. Maybe I shouldn't get ahead of myself, but they're likely to pass it once this is over and signed into law. In just a couple of weeks, Kevin McCarthy and House Republicans are in position to take over the House of Representatives. Remember, they fought against this bill. McCarthy tried to kill it up until the very end, and he's still, whipping his members. His team, I should say, is whipping their members to try to kill this bill. He's probably going to fail, but they're going to be in charge in just a matter of weeks. And the entire contours of negotiations, the entire contours of bipartisan bills that previously required Democrats and a few Senate Republicans are going to change because House Republicans will be at the helm.
Sahil Kapoor, thanks so much. And another piece of government funding bill that could change the way your 401k works. We're going to have more on that in the show. Still to come, it is a scene worrying parents across the country as COVID, flu, and RSV cases surge. There's not enough medicine to go around. How soon those shelves could be restocked. Plus, Target is issuing a recall of a popular children's product after 2 deaths. Stay with us. The average life expectancy in the U.S. is dropping, but it's not just because of COVID. That story coming up in 5 things. But first, shelves are empty around the country as parents look for children's pain relief medication. It's a big problem for families dealing with rising cases of COVID, flu, and RSV. COVID rates are up 37% in the last 2 weeks. 15 million people have had the flu this season, and RSV rates are still high in some parts of the country. CVS and Walgreens are limiting the number of children's pain medicine customers can buy. There's just not enough to go around for kids and adults. Sam Brock joins me now. So, Sam, how are families and pharmacies dealing with this?
Yeah, this is definitely a real problem, Lindsay, and I can tell, there's always accusations of over-dramatization. You go to your local pharmacies, you are seeing empty shelves, maybe not completely barren, but certainly when it concerns children's medications, they are really hard to find right now. And parents at the moment are literally, Lindsay, going store to store, 3, 4, 5 stores at a time to try to find medication. And I talked to a mom yesterday who says, I'm in a fortunate position that I am financially able and have enough time to actually do this. For many other families, they don't. So you could look online as well. Again, though, if you're going to order on Amazon, that might require a Prime membership, but you might have easier access that way. Whatever you're doing right now, though, the stockpile of actual medications for kids, Tylenol and Advil, for acetaminophen, ibuprofen, those are all really strained at the moment. As far as pharmacies are concerned, what they're advising to parents and to families is to use generic versions of those same active ingredients. They're just as effective. They might not just have the brand name, but they can still do the job, Lindsay.
And we reported yesterday the federal government will release Tamiflu from the Strategic National Stockpile. How soon could that happen?
So the federal government has been very opaque about this so far. We don't know the number of doses they're releasing. We don't have the timeline for when they will be released. Here's what we do know. The states themselves were able to access their state stockpiles. They've exhausted those. So now the states individually have to request from HHS Tamiflu doses, and then they're going to be delivered based on some quantity of need. The question is what? Because the real issue right now is that the flu season in general started early this year, Lindsay, and the question becomes, well, how long is it going to extend? What is the level of urgency on the timing front of things? So we know that that's there. But just for context, it has been a decade plus since the federal government tapped into its national stockpile back for swine flu, H1N1. That's the last time that antivirals were taken out of the stockpile until now.
Wow. All right, Sam Brock, thanks so much. And with more than 7 million Americans flying somewhere for the holiday, airports and planes are going to be crowded. There's no mask mandate on public transportation. So how can travelers stay healthy this holiday season? Joining me right now is Dr. Natalie Azar. So, Doctor, when it comes to travel, how concerned are you seeing how many people are traveling? Do you think we're going to see a spike after the holiday season?
I don't think we will. I pretty much know that we will. I mean, we see it after every major holiday. Since COVID started, we've seen a spike in the number of cases. And it's all the conditions. It's a perfect storm. People gathering who are in different households, all of these travel hubs along the way. It's too late to get vaccinated now to be protected for this holiday season, but it's never too late to put a mask on, and that's still your best protection at this point, Lindsay.
So mask in a crowded airport,
yes,
on a plane, everywhere at this point?
I would do it anywhere you're in an indoor crowded area where you are not familiar with the people around you and you don't know their vaccination status. Unless you're eating or drinking, I would wear the mask.
All right, let's talk about some of the things that Sam Brock was talking about. Yeah. So first of all, this shortage, I've got a 9-month-old, and when we go to the drugstore and we see there's only a little bit of children's Tylenol left, it is very worrisome.
Right.
What can parents do if they can't find it?
Right. So, and I know that I don't want this to sound like a cop-out answer, but really the first thing to do if you're concerned or you're not sure is to call your pediatrician. They have been fielding these calls now for the last number of weeks, and they have a lot of really good recommendations, and they have a lot of good tricks up their sleeve. There are other brands that actually are making these medications, acetaminophen and ibuprofen, one called Genexa. As Sam mentioned, you don't need to go brand. You can go with the generic. A couple important points. If your child is 2 or older, you can do a chewable. If your child is around 11 or 12, you can it's a good time to teach them how to take a tablet or how to swallow a capsule. They don't need to do the liquid anymore, because that's really what was a shortage. Yeah. And I always say this every time I'm on air talking about this. If your child is less than 3 months and has a fever, you definitely need to call the pediatrician. But if the child is older and they have a fever, but they're eating, they're drinking, they're peeing, they're pooping, they're playing, and they just seem a little bit uncomfortable, you don't need to rush to treat that temperature just to make yourself feel better. If they're really uncomfortable, then you definitely want to bring that fever down.
Okay, good to know. And then also Tamiflu, this release from the national stockpile. What are the updated recommendations?
So the FDA released some updated recommendations, and they basically said, well, first of all, let's just remember what Tamiflu does. It doesn't necessarily keep people, oh my God, what am I saying? The Tamiflu, just like the antivirals for COVID-19, are really meant to prevent severe disease. Okay. They lessen the symptoms, duration of symptoms in average healthy people by about a day. So what they basically said, Lindsay, is that if you were an otherwise healthy adult and you have the flu, you don't need to take Tamiflu. Kind of to sort of, we have a scarcity in resources to sort of, hold on to that. If you're older, if you're in the hospital, there are actually other medications besides Tamiflu. It's not the only antiviral for flu that you could get if you're in the hospital. So I think that's important. It kind of flew under the radar a little bit. I don't think you need to rush to take Tamiflu if you're otherwise healthy and you test positive for flu.
Okay, Dr. Azar, thank you so much. Yeah. Always good to know. Let's get you over now to the 5 things our team thinks you should know about tonight. Number 1, the CDC is reporting the average life expectancy in the U.S. dropped for the 2nd straight year in 2021. It's now at 76.4 years, the lowest in 25 years. The report blames the drop on 2 factors, the COVID-19 pandemic and an increase in drug overdoses. Number 2, Target is recalling more than 200,000 weighted blankets after federal regulators say 2 young children reportedly died of asphyxiation earlier this year. The Consumer Product Safety Commission says the pillow fort weighted blankets can actually trap kids inside, and they, along with Target, are urging people to stop using the blankets immediately. Number 3, omelet lovers may have noticed a higher grocery bill in the last few months because the price of eggs has skyrocketed almost 50% since this time last year. And it's due to a severe bird flu pandemic across the U.S. About 37 million of them have died since the start of this year. Number 4, the U.S. Postal Service is making sure Santa doesn't come late. USPS says it's on track to meet its holiday delivery deadlines. All this despite a nationwide worker shortage and an impending winter storm. Number 5, there's just 1 day left to buy tickets for tomorrow's Mega Millions drawing, the jackpot, ballooning to $510 million yesterday. It's the 2nd highest Mega Millions jackpot this year alone after October's $1 billion prize. That jackpot was won by a lottery club in Oakland, California. When we come back, new rules for your 401k could be on the way, how it could change how you save for retirement. Plus, TikTok admitting today it spied on some of its users. Details when we come back. A 1 in a million occurrence was caught on camera in Alaska. That story coming up in the local. But first, significant changes could be coming for America's retirement plans. It's part of that $1.7 trillion spending bill Congress is trying to get passed by tomorrow night. The goal is to boost retirement savings and increase access to 401ks and IRAs. The plan includes automatic 401k enrollment with an exemption for small businesses with fewer than 10 employees, a federal government match for workers who make less than $71,000 a year, and a 401k enrollment plan for part-time employees. At least one expert says it's the largest bill covering retirement in more than 15 years. CNBC's Ron Insana joins me right now. So, Ron, talk to me about the impact of this plan and who's really going to benefit from these changes.
I think everybody who qualifies for a 401k that can be used on a tax-free or tax-deferred basis would qualify greatly, Lindsay. I mean, they're increasing the limits on what you can contribute. They're increasing the catch-up payments for those of us who are older and haven't bothered to save nearly enough yet for retirement. And they're pushing back the age at which you have to begin your withdrawals. Now, it's currently 72. It's going to go to 73, and ultimately within the next decade, 75. So it's giving people who are, 50, 60 years or older additional time to save on a tax-deferred basis so that when the time comes to start withdrawing money, they'll have more in the 401k program than they might currently at a mandatory retirement age for those of us who are at the tail end of the baby boom of 67. There are a lot of very, very strong savings incentives in this new set of proposals that are in the omnibus spending bill.
I mean, sounds good for workers, but how will this automatic 401k enrollment provision impact small businesses?
Well, it really depends. I mean, to the extent to which small businesses offer a match, that would obviously increase the amount of money they'd have to contribute. Not every employer matches what the employee puts in, so that's a discretionary item among employers. But generally speaking, the net impact obviously would be increased employee loyalty if you've got a program in which you can save funds for retirement. So I think net, it's not that onerous for employees. There are some carrots carrying costs, obviously, that go with this when it comes to, pay and benefit packages that are put out by companies, but nothing so onerous that it would really deter small businesses from starting.
Let's talk about the part of the plan that would increase the age when people have to start taking a minimum distribution from their 401ks. Why do this, and who does it help?
Well, me, actually. I'm 61 years old. I'm at the tail end of the baby boom. My mandatory, or at least my Social Security retirement age these days is 67. But if you failed at our age, to save enough for retirement, this pushes back that date at which you need to start those minimum withdrawals to 75 years old. So that basically, if you're in your 60s and approaching retirement right now, gives you really an additional 8 or 10 years, 3 years technically from where we are right now, to start pulling that money out. But it just means that the effect of compounding your savings will increase, and it gives you a chance to give you a better return on your investment and also more money to spend in retirement when that day comes.
Ron and Sana, thanks as always. The owners of TikTok today admitting that 4 employees spied on a handful of users, including some journalists. The company ByteDance was investigating a suspected leak of internal company documents and conversations that led to some bad press, like this BuzzFeed report that TikTok user data had been accessed from China. ByteDance says those employees have been fired, and a TikTok spokesman tells Variety that the employees' misbehavior was unacceptable. Meanwhile, Reuters reports TikTok is taking steps to try and reassure the U.S. government that the platform is safe from interference by China's Communist Party. NBC's Kevin Collier joins me now. So, Kevin, first, talk to me more about who ByteDance said the employees spied on and what journalists are saying about it.
So several people, including journalists at, like you said, multiple outlets who had written stories that were embarrassing for the company. One was Christina Criddle from the Financial Times. She'd written about poor working conditions at TikTok's London offices. Another, Emily Baker White, who was at BuzzFeed News and now at Forbes, who had written about how TikTok's parent company in China, ByteDance, had accessed Americans' user data. Most apps can send user location data back to the company. And in this case, TikTok exploited that capability to track where the reporters had physically been, to see if they'd been in the vicinity of TikTok employees, as a means to suss out which workers had been talking to the press. Our phones collect this massive amount of data on us. We all know this. This is one of the most overt abuses of that from a tech company that we've seen in a while.
I imagine those journalists who were spied on aren't happy about it.
Yeah, I think so.
Bans right now on TikTok are gaining momentum. The New York Times reporting at least 14 states have banned the app on government-issued devices. People were already wary. Now they're caught in sort of this firestorm, right? Just as they're trying to convince the government that the platform is safe, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. I mean, whenever we talk about TikTok as a vector for the Chinese government to spy on Americans, I think it's important to step back and remember that China has acquired significant personal information on practically every American adult. The Ministry of State Security there has, in the past 8 or so years, hacked credit monitoring company Equifax, getting Social Security numbers. They've hacked companies like Marriott to get travel information, insurance companies for Americans' medical data. They hacked OPM, which is essentially the United States government's HR department for details for who's worked for the government. That's all the prologue to today. So these bans that you're talking about, statewide bans on government-issued phones, TikTok may push back on that, but it would certainly seem to undermine the company's claims that it's trustworthy when it's engaging in this kind of overt abuse that we've learned of today.
Kevin Collier, thanks so much. Coming up, for years, people in Jackson, Mississippi have been fighting for clean water, and now the EPA is getting involved. Why the agency's administrator is telling NBC News about avoiding another water crisis. Plus, a zookeeper is recovering tonight after being attacked by a bear in Florida. Stay with us. NBC News covers hundreds of stories each day, and because you couldn't possibly read, watch, or listen to them all, our bureau teams have done it for you. This is what they tell us is going down in their regions in a segment we call The Local. From our Northeast Bureau, the New York Attorney General's office says it's looking into a number of issues surrounding a Republican congressman-elect after his past was called into question. George Santos has been accused of fabricating key details of his background, including his education and work history, according to a report in the New York Times. His lawyer calls these defamatory. Santos himself took to Twitter today saying, quote, "I have my story to tell and it will be told next week." From our Southeast Bureau, a captive black bear attacked a zookeeper in Jacksonville, Florida. The bear managed to escape its enclosure just after the zoo closed. Sadly, an animal control officer was forced to use lethal force against the 5-year-old bear. The zookeeper was rushed to the hospital and is expected to recover. Out of our Western Bureau, an Alaska couple captured this incredible footage of a bull moose shedding its antlers right in front of their doorbell camera. You're going to see the moose shaking his head there, and then both massive antlers pop off, startling him. You can see the neighbor there holding him up. No need to worry. It's a normal occurrence. These moose regrow their antlers every year. Back in August, torrential rain in Jackson, Mississippi caused flooding, which knocked out the water system. You probably remember the coverage. The situation was bad. The city didn't have enough water to flush toilets and fight fires. They even ran out of bottled water to give to residents. When the water finally came back, there was a boil water advisory. The water crisis in Jackson isn't new. It's been going on for decades. Now, the EPA launched a civil rights probe over the water crisis. The Department of Justice is suing the city of Jackson, and residents also filed a class action lawsuit against Mississippi officials. Now, NBC correspondent Zincle Esamoah has really been digging into all of this. In fact, she got the chance to sit down with Michael Reagan, the first black EPA administrator. And Zincle now joins me now. So we know that the EPA is in the middle of this civil rights probe into the water system. Did the administrator kind of go into all that and the status?
Yeah, Lindsay, he absolutely did. So essentially, the EPA launched a civil rights probe into Jackson, Mississippi because of an NAACP complaint. That complaint alleges that Governor Tate Reeves and the state of Mississippi discriminated against the majority black city of Jackson. So I asked Administrator Reagan to share specifics about the ongoing probe. And while he couldn't give us the details or next steps, we do have a rough timeline. Take a listen. When can we expect results from that civil rights investigation?
Well, you know, there's a couple more months for us to review that. When a complaint or a petition is filed, EPA has up to 180 days to respond to that petition. And we're combing through it and we're looking at it. We take all of these petitions very seriously, and this is no exception.
Now, it is important to note that in response to the NAACP complaint, the governor has previously said his administration is committed to ensuring all federal funding is made available on an objective and what he called a race-neutral basis. Lindsay.
Zincle, Jackson's water system is currently under control right now of a third party. How's that going?
Yeah, so that's pretty rare and unusual. And the administrator really wanted to emphasize that. Essentially, they said, the city is pointing the finger at the state, saying we're not getting enough funding, and the state is saying you are not managing the money well. And so the government has essentially stepped in and appointed a third-party manager. Here's what the administrator had to say.
It was at EPA's behest, along with the Department of Justice, that we determined that there needed to be a third party involved with some judicial oversight to ensure that everyone was playing fairly and investing in Jackson's water infrastructure.
And notably, the last time the EPA tried a similar tactic, appointing a third-party manager, it took about 10 years. Comparatively, Reagan points out, it only took them about 5 months. But they did say, when I asked, has the government failed residents of Jackson, he acknowledged, we have not invested enough. And that's what he's hoping this will be, an investment in the people there.
And Zincle, we've been talking about this massive winter storm that's headed to so many parts of this country. Is Jackson's water system going to hold up?
I think this has everyone holding their breath, right? Because we have these big freezes coming. When pipes freeze, what happens? They often burst. Now, the mayor has recently said, Mayor Chukwuemeka Mumba of Jackson, that he can't make any promises. And the EPA administrator echoed those sentiments. So first, let's hear what he had to say. What are you looking ahead for in this winter season for the city of Jackson? Is the city prepared?
You know, we hope that the city will be prepared.
But are you expecting this winter that some residents, whether in Jackson or other cities in the country, may not have access to consistent water?
We're preparing ourselves for that. Again, this is an antiquated system.
You heard it from him right there. It's an antiquated system. And for more context, 2018 was the last time temperatures in the city were sub-freezing, and the water system did not handle it well. There were about 300 water main breaks for city, and residents were left with no water for days, Lindsay. So at the end of the year, residents in Jackson are still holding their breath, unsure if they're going to have access to consistent water.
We know you will be following up on all of this. All right, everybody can watch more of your interview with the EPA administrator tonight on Nightly News. You also have a documentary.
Yes,
talk to us
right.
about that.
Absolutely. So we spent time with residents of Jackson, specifically a family, and audiences can go learn more. It's Boiling Point on YouTube, Boiling Point on YouTube and all NBC platforms where you can hear more about what's going on there.
Such important reporting. Thank you so much, Zinclair.
Thank you.
Still to come, from crypto's crash to mass layoffs and endless Twitter drama, tech had a rough 2022, but there were also some pretty big discoveries, how they could shake up the year ahead. It's been quite a wild ride this past year in the world of tech, from the cryptocurrency crash to metaverse drama and the changing of the guard at Twitter. Tech stories dominated the headlines in 2022. Jake Ward takes a look at the year's biggest tech stories, discoveries, and missteps.
2022 saw the enormous potential and the enormous risks of technology play out over a single year. There were a lot of big promises made that wound up going nowhere or worse. The biggest, of course, was crypto. The stuff of Super Bowl commercials and overnight billionaires. Cryptocurrency ended 2022 in flames as Sam Bankman-Fried, founder of FTX, became the face of a crisis that wiped out individual investors and deeply wounded the industry until investigators closed in and had him arrested in the Bahamas. Big tech companies, symbols of endless growth, flailed this year as the economy suffered. Meta sank from $1 trillion valuation last year to $268 billion this year as advertising fell apart and it blew billions on its founder's dream of a metaverse in which we will all work and play. It and other big tech companies laid off tens of thousands of people. But no one tech company grabbed the headlines quite like Twitter. When Elon Musk stopped fighting and finally went through with acquiring the company as promised, every day brought a new surprise, from firing more than half the staff to a wave of embarrassing impersonations to inviting Trump and other banned folks back. As the year ends, we still do not know what Twitter will be when it all shakes out. And now that the Supreme Court has agreed to hear a case that would make social media companies legally responsible for what we post, well, we don't know what social media will look like this time next year. But with all this drama, the year also saw some big discoveries. Artificial intelligence made some amazing new tools possible, including DALL-E and Midjourney, which allow anyone to create gallery-ready art by just describing what they want to see. Goodbye, Hollywood. Goodbye, art degree. And new software from OpenAI called ChatGPT is like a Google you can ask to do things, like write a novel or software for you. Who knows what companies and ethical issues that could launch? Finally, speaking of launches, the James Webb Space Telescope, the most powerful ever built, left Earth and revealed the atmosphere of a possibly livable world, along with images of the birth and death of stars. It's a reminder of what we can pull off as a species, and that all these tech dramas here on Earth are really pretty tiny in the scheme of things.
Jake, thanks so much. That's a wrap for this hour. We'll have more for you here tomorrow, same time, same place. Coverage picks up right now.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.